Hi, it's Daryl Judy, Washington Fine Properties, and we're doing another edition of Casa Amigos. And I'm with a friend, Andrew Howard, who is a client, he's a friend. I'm also his client because he's my insurance guy. He does all the insurance for most of all my people. And I want to bring him in and have a conversation because he's got some interesting perspective. The reason that this whole started was I have another client who said about their neighbor across the street, the house caught on fire. And he said the house was insured at $400,000, $500,000, whatever it was when they bought it. And now the house is worth 1.2 and they didn't have it insured correctly and they've lost everything. And so I didn't even really think about that with my own thing. When I'm with you, I use Chubb insurance and I know I'm covered really well. But I didn't realize there were so many differences in the policies and how things affected. And I know there's been a whole thing with wildfires and different things that have gone on that people aren't predicament.
Right.
So I wanted to bring you in today because this is so important. I actually did a social media post and I said, today Daryl Judy is most concerned today with moisture in the rain we were having at that moment in time, about interest rates going up and about insurance. And they got to vote. And everyone voted for rain and interest, right? No one thought about insurance. And truly, right now, I'm concerned about insurance. My clients, are they covered? So we're at Howard Insurance, right? Explain, it's your company. Mm-hmm. Explain a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So Howard Insurance is a private insurance firm. We represent really kind of three types of clients. The private client side, which you and I work on a lot, which is residences, collections, cars, liability. We're national with the work and everything that we do, so not restricted geographically. We have clients with international assets as well. So that's the personal insurance or private client side. The commercial side, we're insuring companies, large portfolios of real estate, again, all national with the work, all types of industries, all over, all sectors. And then in the life insurance practice sits over both the personal and the corporate. You have corporate planning, of course, for key executives or key individuals, or succession planning, and the same thing mirrored on the personal side. So we do everything except health insurance. I'm not going to do it. Don't ask me to do it. That kind of thing.
Right. No. So in terms of what you do, the important thing is one of the reasons why I have a relationship with you, which is why I use you, and then I realized I made the right decision business-wise too. But you're also a local business, mm-hmm. and I like supporting my local businesses. But you're also national, right?
Yes.
And so I've had situations where I said, "Well, you should talk to Andrew Howard." Oh, we have somebody, and then you've swooped in and you said, "Well, let's take care of your art collection here. Let's take care of the house here that you just paid $3 million for. I know what's going on." And then I get a call from the client. It's like, "Oh my God, we swapped everything to him. Our place down in Bald Head Island, he's doing. He insured our golf cart," right? So everything about it, so you're holistic and you can do all those bits and pieces.
That's right. Yeah, we don't want to be restricted. Our clients, since we specialize in the upper end work, our clients have assets in other states. They have multiple homes. They don't want to have to make multiple phone calls. And certainly when they meet us and our team, they want to keep everything in one place. And you said it before, it's not the sexiest topic in the world, so people don't generally want to talk insurance 15 times a year.
Person that had insurance, if they have insurance, they're covered.
Mm-hmm.
But why wouldn't they be covered? If
Sure.
their house caught on fire, you have insurance, you're paying your policy, you've been a member with that company for 10 years, why wouldn't you be covered?
Yeah, and it's a common misconception, right? So consumers, figure they pick the limit for the coverage is $400,000 or whatever you said. House, maybe including the land value, is now 1.2, but either way, you subtract the land value, they don't have enough coverage, right? So there's often this sort of set it and forget it kind of mentality where people purchase the home, they get the coverage, it renews, they get annoyed about the bill, maybe they complain about it, and then they go on with their life, right? We go from number 3 to number 1 on the list pretty quick when we're needed, right? So in the list of concerns. So the assumption is, I'm paying for this, what do you mean I can't rebuild my house, right? Now, most insurance policies that you see on TV, this isn't your situation or your clients, but most companies that you see on TV, they're going to give you a coverage limit for whatever that is. In the event of a total loss, maybe they'll give you an extra 25% on top of that. So 400,000, now it's 500,000, right? So even that, not enough, right? But the way the contracts read is it's on the homeowner, not the insurance company in those situations to define the right limit. So if it's wrong, it's the client's fault. There's nobody to complain to. Now, unlike your scenario with Chubb, where they came in, they're not for everybody, right? You have to sort of qualify by the property to be with them. They're going to take a look and they're going to have an opinion on the value. So if we go in and say it's going to be $1 million to rebuild this house, they come in and do their inspections, they think it's 1.2, they're going to lift the limit to that. But for that, they're going to pay no matter what. So in that scenario, and especially the times we're in now with lumber, labor, I can't get a fridge for 14 months, all of these things, everything's more expensive. And that 1.2 maybe is actually 1.8 at the time of loss. The company like Chubb or the high value companies we represent are going to ride you all the way up, as opposed to this other scenario where it's, sorry, 400,000 plus 25% and you're at 500,000 and you're stuck out of pocket for the rest, right? So it's a learning the hard way. Unfortunately, only way to learn the lesson, unless someone recommends that they review it, they take action on that. They have an advocate like you who's saying you need to talk to Howard, you need to have them review it.
And I don't want to be disparaging with other companies, but if you think of names you know of insurance companies on TV, if they're advertising or you get a postcard or you see them on a Super Bowl commercial, they're the ones who are likely to not have the right coverage. Is that what we're saying?
It's a good general statement without, disparaging anything. And, there's, what I always say is you go where you fit, right? So for certain folks with less exposure, maybe you drop a zero type of thing, maybe the risk load is less. Now for me, as sort of the soapbox advocate for people, it's all relative, right? So, someone's $100,000 problem might be somebody else's $10 million problem, right? But it's still relevant, it's important to them. The logic of this being the most important financial asset could be supplementing retirement, those types of things. That's real, right? So it should be done the right way, or as I say, not done at all.
The real estate market in DC, Maryland, Virginia is insane.
Right.
Like appreciation like we've never seen.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, they're like, oh, we're waiting for the bubble to bust. It's not going to bust. I've never seen more qualified people. I've never seen more people come with cash and portfolios of assets to back up their buying purchase. So I don't think this is a bubble at all. I think it's 100% the values are increasing. So that's one way that can happen. What's another reason it may not be covered? Think about.
Yeah, so with the increase in value, remember, often that is paired with an increased cost to build, right? So the adage, and a good friend of mine said years ago when he went to get an estimate for something in his house, the first question they asked was, what's your zip code? And he said, why was that relevant, right? But it is because they're going to charge more in town, call it, tighter neighborhoods, they'll claim that the labor, they can't park or whatever. Increased cost of labor, increased cost of materials often seems to track those changes in value. There are obviously pockets where it can be grossly differentiated, but this local market is also supplemented by a dramatic increase in cost to get anything done, to change a light bulb. Right.
And when you say about a higher level of insurance, so I keep saying Chubb because that's the one I know, right? So I'll use that name, and I'm sure there's other ones.
There's a handful of others, yeah.
Right, but I'm going to go with what I know because that's my name.
That's fair enough.
So if my house caught on fire, what would my expectation be? What would my client's expectation be of, I have XYZ, Chubb or whomever, or I might have some national brand that's maybe not at the same level, and I'm in a crisis situation. What would be the difference that they would experience?
So for our clients, because they've been, walked through the differences between these companies and why you want to be with a company like that versus another, maybe it costs more, maybe it costs less, depending on the value. So when we set the subconscious expectation level, we don't want people to become experts, right? But when we're walking through for the first time, they're going to leave with that feeling that's better than the feeling they had before. Certainly, maybe they had no feeling at all, but oftentimes people say, I don't feel like this is right. They have a bad feeling, right? In changing that feeling, we want them to have an expectation level of, it's going to be okay, it's going to be fixed, I'm going to call Howard, they're going to deal with it, right? They're going to talk through their concerns, talk through anything they've done to date, post-loss, how we can help them, everything from finding another property to relocate to temporarily while their house is repaired, to really getting the most out of the situation without them. We always say to the clients, don't be the hero. Don't say, no, it's okay, I'll just live with this. No, if it was damaged, get it out. This is what we're here for. Don't be a hero, right? So the expectation level is a lot of advocacy, a lot of hand-holding, but really it's that they're going to get what they deserve It's going to be smooth, and they're not going to have to be defensive explaining what they had. And that's the biggest call I get from people who are not our clients, who's a friend of a friend, and they feel that in a claim, be it a pipe burst and a room is trashed, and or there was a theft, they feel judged by their insurance company for having nice things. And I can't have my clients ever judged, period, let alone, for having nice things, right? So it's a go where you fit. If the carrier, like a Chubb or pure AIG private client, there's only a handful. If their clientele they're used to seeing nice things, then the person that comes to take a look at it's not going to be surprised, right? Well, a common misconception is that, even talking to you or sitting here, is this for me, or is, am I going to pay X amount more? And we always get the question, what is your fee structure? And, people are assuming there's an additional cost to this world. And there sometimes can be, if we're going from really terribly, outdated, fixing it, sure. Then, to right size it, maybe there's a cost there. But as you and I always talk about, the higher the value property, the more the world seems to unfold for itself. And the high value insurance companies are often way more competitive than the companies you see on TV, because it's all they do, right? So you never want to be the exception to the rule in this life, in anyone's sort of client service world, anything in financial services. You don't want to be, the exception to the rule and what they're used to seeing. You want to be surrounded by people like you, because that's going to be more relevant to the situation than not, right? So, it's client by client. We're always willing to review, anyone's work. I would rather people be covered, even if it's not with us, than to hear about that nightmare story. Because odds are they're going to be connected to me somehow, and I'm going to end up on the phone with them anyway. So I'd rather just fix it. Right.
You have company A that you might see on TV, and you have a higher level insurance product. If you have a house that, it's a $2 million house, which there's plenty of in DC, right? It's not even like luxury now. That's just run of the
price of entry.
Almost, right. Yeah. It's residential. You have that, and you have a nice car. Like our friend Michael's going to get a Tesla, right? He's got a nice car in the garage. All of these things, it could actually be better and more competitive with a higher level insurance company.
Because we're going where we fit, right? Now, conversely, the companies that we represent aren't for first-time home buyers, right? Say sub $1 million, right? We're not great at that work. That's okay. There's a whole slew of companies out there that want to attack that market, right? Mm-hmm. And so the higher value carriers, where they're specializing in higher value properties all over the country, if we're off by 10% on 10 million, that really stinks. I don't care who you are, right? So, again, I said it's relative, and it is, but when you're adding a zero, right, being off by a few percentage points really matters. It's a bad day, right?
Important that you're covered, making sure that you're taken care of, making sure that your policy is up to what it needs to be, that it's more cost efficient to do the right insurance and be covered right. So that's all true. Can you explain a little bit? I never really had this growing up. There was no need for it. But in our world today, I also have an umbrella policy.
Yeah.
Can you just explain the purpose, or if people don't know what that's about?
Sure. So umbrella liability is excess liability that sits over the assets underneath, like an umbrella. So if we have a home, a car, the umbrella sits over that as excess liability. So you have liability in your homeowner's insurance, typically $300,000 or $500,000. Same thing on the auto, right? The umbrella works in $1 million increments, 1 million to 100 million plus, in case the underlying is not enough. So take a bad car accident, for example, cost of medical these days, et cetera. If it were reversed in your scenario, you hit someone, right? And they take one look at you and just put on the neck brace and the whole thing. But let's say they are actually injured, right? Cost of medical, $500,000 is not a lot of money anymore. Right. So if that's not enough, it's a very inexpensive way to protect against a catastrophic incident. We're talking, in the hundreds of dollars for a $5 million umbrella, for example. So for higher net worth clients, anyone who's exposed, and really anyone in this town that owns real estate, is going to be deemed as such, right? You have a target on your back. So knowing that what we have just that comes with these policies is not what it used to be anymore, we have to protect the bigger picture. So we also see it, unfortunately, in downtown or any urban areas on the property side. You have brownstones and you have row houses that are very valuable. If they have a pipe burst, they're likely going to do what? They're going to damage the neighbors, right? So that liability, when that happens, the neighbors aren't like, don't worry, Daryl, I got it. They're going to come after you, right?
Right.
Or they're going to expect you to pay. And cost of materials, cost of everything else, all the things we already talked about, that adds up really quick. $500,000 doesn't do a lot of damage anymore.
Right. In our business, whether it be homes or insurance, we work for and with clients, and we're advocates. What does that mean to you to be someone's advocate?
So I would say it's the word that sort of defines who I am, who I want all of our people to be. It's the number one value add in, I think, any client service business, period. If someone feels that you are going to go to bat for them, you are going to fight for them, you are going to do what it takes to yield the best financial outcome for them, there's a trust there through the actions that you can't fake, right? I think people, the compliment that we get is that feeling is real in its action. That trust is built on those actions. That's what sustains very long relationships, right? Mm-hmm. I'd say for myself, I always seek that in anyone that I work with. It's what brought us together years and years and years ago. Is I felt like I needed to know that my words and my emotions or my feelings were being translated in the best way. And as an advocate for me, I couldn't negotiate the deal myself, for example, right? And did I believe that the person was going to take my words, put them through however filter they needed to get things done in the best possible way to yield the best possible outcome as my advocate? And you cannot fake that. I think there's a lot of people in my business, certainly in your business, that are looking to get a deal done. And it's whatever it takes to get the deal done.
Right.
And that advocacy has been lost. And I would say as a client, yeah, great, the deal got done, right? But in a scenario where you're setting expectation levels very much in your business and in mine of how things should go, when they don't go that way, do I feel that it was because of an outside force or because I didn't have the right advocate, right? And it's a terrible thought or feeling for anyone to ever have. It's always in a deal, or in my world in a claim scenario, or in, getting something covered right, or those types of things. Advocacy is the number one thing I think that any of us separate ourselves in any market with. You've done a phenomenal job with that. Anyone that I've ever referred to you, certainly for me, and it's real. It's real in its action. And I know that when you call me back and give me feedback or news, it is 100% real. It's not me saying, well, did you try this or did you try that, or how about this? And I think so many clients, I'm sure for you, try to micromanage through the scenario.
Never.
And right, you're the best coach at saying, I've got it, I've got your best interest in mind, and you have the best way of making people believe it. I'd say for us, we endeavor to be the same for our clients, certainly.
So what does a good day look like for Andrew Howard?
Often described as, coming through the door and having a pride, I would say, in your surroundings. I think that makes people feel better. It certainly makes me feel better. And a feeling. And the feeling in the sense of calm and sort of this, when you come through the door, that the outside world is done. You're home now, and you're not looking around at all the things that are wrong or things that are terrible. It should make you feel better about yourself, your day. It's very much a feeling, but I was sort of raised on the pride in home, caring for the property, caring for things that, and leaving it in a better place than you found it.
So some of it's probably worn off from the mother, right?
I'm a fourth generation Washingtonian, so we're certainly entrenched in this market, in this area. It's where we're based, and I have to travel for work and all these things, and grass is always greener, where it's sunnier. Maybe we don't have the cold that we're having now and things like that, but very much committed to this area, this region, the organizations, the charities here, things like that, schools. There's a lot of pride for me, I have 3 boys, in trying to provide them, a life here that is reflective of maybe my own upbringing a little bit, but you always try to do things better for your own kids, right? I would say your work and guidance over a long number of years, keeping us in the right properties and in the right situations is, been everything.
Obviously, 3 boys, It's exciting. Lacrosse is a big part of your life.
Sure.
So what, if you had to say, what are the number 1 or number 2, what are the biggest lessons that you want your children to remember? My dad taught me. What are the most important lessons, 1 or 2?
My biggest one is pride in work, pride in yourself, take pride in your work. If they're writing their name on their homework, don't willy-nilly scribble it. Take pride. It's very much reflective of how we interview here. There's intangibles that you can't necessarily test someone for in a personality test, right? What I'm looking for is the people that really care about their own reputation more than anything else. If they care what the person on the other end of the conversation or email, or for my sons, their teacher thinks of them, they are going to be more successful, right? So it's pride in themselves, pride in their work, pride in their surroundings, certainly, all the basics of, cleaning up, not being entitled, those kind of things, right?
So, so you're a local boy.
Yes.
Right? You went to school here. And how did you get from, I grew up here, I went to college, I came back. What was your journey?
Obviously, I was here through high school. I went to Georgetown Prep, and I went to Villanova for college. And my senior year, I was coming out of Villanova Business School, and I was going to work for Price Waterhouse or Arthur Andersen at the time. I was interviewing with them, and that's sort of what you did then. You went to school, you worked for a big consulting firm, you got your BlackBerry back then, for those who remember those, and you were really, really cool, right? About a month before graduation, my father called and said, "I'm thinking about keeping this insurance thing, going. What do you think?" And I said, and I've said this many times in interviews, but I said, where the hell was that 4 years ago? I would have had a great time in college had I known I had a job waiting for me, right? Some people say, well, your father knew what he was doing, and he will be the first to admit that was not his game plan. In his generation, your retirement was you sold, right? And he was young. I was still not committed to, a job yet. I didn't hesitate because, and it wasn't necessarily this whole, he was second generation, this would be a third generation, and oh, that's rare, and isn't that neat? It really wasn't that, and it wasn't, no offense really, but to them, but it wasn't just the family aspect of it. What I liked was the control, the entrepreneurial aspect of being able to honor the past for what was built before me. We were one employee, when I started. We've just under 40 now, so the ability to grow something and be entrepreneurial, right? Honoring the past and the values that got us there and that made me who I am, and expanding that and making the most of it. That was the motivator, honestly.
Why are people sticking with you for so long?
It's a great question. I'm normally asked it a different way, but I like the way you asked it. I would say that what I am told is I tend to do my best to empower others. You have to lay down control, right? If you hire talented people, let them be talented, right? Let them do their thing. There's pros and cons to all of us in this life. None of us are perfect, right? I had to sort of lay down control. I had to, empower others to be their best, try to support them in whatever way. And I would say I try to do my best to support any endeavor that someone brings to the table in here.
Andrew Howard, because you have a business persona, what is it that people would be interested to know that they don't know about you?
They don't know about me. I'm 5'7". I look taller to most people.
You look much bigger than 5'7".
Yeah, especially on camera. So I would say that the passion and the advocacy that I have is real, but it's real because I have to, when we're bringing on a client, for example, unbeknownst to them, there's almost this dual interview where if I feel that they're going to respect our people, if I feel that we can help them, if I feel that we're not just a transaction and they're looking for help, they're looking for advocacy, all the things we stand for, then there's going to be a good fit. Now, the reason that's critical, and I always say in here, it's an afforded luxury to act that way. Not unlike yourself, you could put your name on the side of more buses or whatever and take on any Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes in, right? It's not your market. You are looking for the right clients, right? And the right real estate to represent, right? Similar to me. And through that, when the rubber meets the road in round 4 negotiation or a claim, I'm going to lay in front of a train for that client because of all that stuff that already happened, right?
Right.
I think people feel that. I think that's real. I think that's the other reason people stay here as part of this team. They feel that, I don't know if that's something that people wouldn't necessarily know about me other than my height, but I would say that it's one thing that, I personally have been told is reputational to me. and that people feel that because it's in the action. And I also don't think you can fake it.
Right. I'm going to close up. I'm going to ask you just a couple of speed questions.
Oh, good.
I just want to get
Do we get to drink the Casamigos
for
this?
We have. I have Casamigos here with me.
I mean, it is the name of your show, so I guess if I get one wrong, then we'll...
All right, we don't need a glass. We can just chug it.
9:30 a.m. is right, yeah.
Yeah. No, I have a busy day today. What is your drink of choice?
Bourbon and wine.
Bourbon and wine. Any reason, like, bourbon's always a nightcap, or?
Bourbon's become more rare, so I would probably say red wine is the lead. Okay. Yeah.
The older you get, the harder that red wine is, I'm finding.
Is that right?
Oh my God. Yeah, I drink tequila. What do you want for cocktails? Tequila. What do you want for dinner?
You know, everyone's gone that route. I have not gotten to a sense of place with the taste of that yet. Maybe I'm not drinking good enough.
I don't know.
Tequila.
I think it's good. It's smooth.
Or I'm still remembering Cuervo Gold, maybe.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. And it's honestly the calories. It's the best way to go.
It's the calories, and it's the cleanest alcohol, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What annoys you?
Lack of work ethic.
That's like a ditto. Laziness. Yeah, I can.
Number one trigger for me.
Right. When's the last time you cried?
Probably yesterday. I'm a pretty passionate, emotional guy, so if it's a good commercial, Super Bowl had me going on a couple of, especially that first commercial. But yeah.
What is it if you had to tell, like, this is what I'm watching, I'm binging this on Netflix? Is there anything that's like a pop culture thing? Like, you should see this movie, you should see this series? I'm rewatching Sopranos currently, because I hadn't done that in 20 years kind of thing. Right.
And, I remember certain moments, but it's almost like watching it again. Such a great feeling, right? When you do that, especially a show like that with a lot of seasons. But there's so much good content. It's phenomenal. I mean, had to choose. I try to stay on the pulse of most things, but I am going old school at the moment.
Right. So you have a beautiful house that right down the street. You love the neighborhood so much they moved a couple doors away.
4 houses.
And you'll go out of there toe up, right? So
yeah.
You always have a space there, but if you had like a dream home, where would that be? Where would you and your wife retire or spend time at, or what would that be like? What kind of life would you have there?
My dream home would be in Monterey, California.
Oh.
I visited there for the first time maybe 5 years ago, and when I can, I play golf, and I was there for golf, and but driving that coastline, seeing that real estate, which is just unbelievable. But really, just the feeling that I got. I'm a big sort of feeling person, especially with real estate or geography. You can't. I think most people, they get a feeling when they walk into a place, or they don't, right?
Right.
I think in this market, people just get exhausted. They just get me whatever you can.
Right. I need a bed.
Yeah. But if you're going to ask the question, I'll give you the answer. It would be Monterey, California.
And the weather is like,
of
course, saying, right?
Yeah. It'd be hard for me to leave here, just to be clear. But
Yeah. No, but
so we'll call it secondary.
Secondary. You got to think about kind of what it would be, and it's really about who you're surrounded by.
Yeah.
Right. Who you're surrounded by. Give us, like, you're a big golfer, right? I remember when we're moving, getting the house ready, they've got this whole setup. I mean, my God, like the screen.
I drove you nuts with that, but sorry.
So what tip to golf? Like, what's your biggest golf tip, or what?
I'm not the guy to give tips, but I would say you can't play enough, especially as a professional, like a working professional. There's the guys on TV, then there's everybody else, right?
Right.
So.
Can't play enough. Well, that's actually good for life, right?
I think so.
Within balance, you can't play enough.
Right.
We're going to finish up. I'm going to ask you epitaph. Like, we're going to put something on your gravestone. What are the 3 things we want Andrew Howard to be known for? This, and this. How do you want to be remembered? Because how you want to be remembered is how you're living your life today.
Yeah. I would say passion, loyalty, pride in all things. Right. If I were to, and I've never thought about that. So I always joke that I'd be like Alec Baldwin with 30 Rock, and I'd be in the hospital bed, and he'd say any last words and say, I should have worked more,
Right.
But if I was defining 3 things that I would like people to think of me, words to think of when they think of my name, it would be those 3.
Okay. Thank you so much. I I've learned so much getting ready for this, for the insurance, and I truly am very concerned. All my clients, if you have questions, reach out to me. I'll give you Andrew's name, or talk to someone different if you have someone different, if you feel more comfortable. But I want to make sure that you're covered and your assets are cared for. Thank you for bringing it to my attention.
Sure.
And sharing a bit of your life. And I'm very fortunate to have you as a friend and as a client, and vice versa. I
greatly appreciate being here. Next time the bottle will be open, and your audience, your clients, the way that you serve, I can't thank you enough, for always being that way, and for inviting me to this vlog, this journey.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.